I guess Mrs. Patricia Kwiatkowski has now become a columnist for that particular website, and she had a column that was appeared on November 6, 2008, right after the election, and it said, "Change will not be coming to Union County." And this is a quote, and I bear with me. She says, there were many running around the country last night claiming that Americans voted for change. Well, perhaps they did in some spots, but here in Union County, they voted for the same old thing by re-electing the incumbent freeholder candidates once again to the board. She doesn't know in here that she lost that night, by the way, but I'll leave that for another time. I just can't figure it out. The residents crab and complain about how their hard-earned tax dollars are being wasted, and yet, just like a relationship with an abusive partner, they go running back for more of the same. So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but obviously it looks like the residents of Union County are the abusees and we are the abusors. Really wonderful comments from a woman who's run multiple times and frankly lost multiple times. And that's if you go on the website, you can see that. It has her picture there and everything else like that. And frankly, that's just an embarrassment. And she's become an embarrassment if she's going to compare the relationship between the residents and ourselves to abusers and abusees. Frankly, it's despicable. And I'll go on there. We'll get to you. Now, the next thing was an article that appeared this week, and Mrs. Renna was in it, and she was touting how she won her libel suit against the Director of Public Information, Seb D'Elia. And yes, the judge did dismiss the suit against Mrs. Renna and Mrs. Kwiatkowski, I believe. What she failed to mention was that her countersuit was also dismissed by the judge. But I want to go on. Ma'am. Let me go on. And we talked about, as I said, political discourse. No, officer, let her stay because she needs to hear this. We're going to read your words, Mrs. Renna. Let's talk about what Mrs. Renna wrote. Don't go anywhere. Come here. Come on. Here's what Mrs. Renna had to say. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read this every time she shows up, because that was just a little act to make sure she didn't have to read this. But let's talk about what this lawsuit was all about. And I asked Seb D'Elia if I could read portions of this, because frankly, it's disgraceful what she wrote. But again, we're talking about the public discourse and what people say. These are her own words in a column that she wrote on April 19, 2006, titled, "County Hacks or Soulless Psychopaths." All right? And it starts, "Since I got involved in Union County politics in 2003, I've become fascinated with Nazi Germany. As far as the psychosis of the county hack behavior, there are many parallels to Nazis. I do believe the only reason the county doesn't murder people is because our current society won't allow it. But we're inching our way there, and the county democratic regime goes as far as they can with harassing people." And I'll skip around a little bit. She writes down here, "Oh, Brother Seb, get a life with your asexual self already. At least come up with some new tactics. Your juvenile, childish behavior is boring us all. Can't you find a boyfriend? Try myspace.com. The predators will love you, even if your daddy doesn't." And let me just go a little further, and please bear with me. At this point, I'm just quoting, and I'm starting in the middle of a paragraph. "That is not to say that county employee behavior isn't alien to me. I grew up on Mulberry Street. Psychopaths were my playmates, and I understood them. They had sort of an honor system which was enforced by a conscience to do right and wrong. Yet the Nazis and county employee behavior has me stumped. Where is their honor system, and why don't they have a conscience? Do they love their mothers, or were they hatched in hell? Did their daddy abandon them?" And I think, I can't even read anymore because that's how bad it is. The point I'm making in this whole case, as Mrs. Renna kept talking about, was her First Amendment rights were being violated and what have you. And as I said, the judge agreed with her on the First Amendment, basically because he's considered a public figure, and like all of us here, so she could, as we've all been targets of this type of trash. The judge called her entries unflattering, mean-spirited, and poorly written, which we all know that already. The point I'm making is, the First Amendment gives you to write